Hello, hello, hello. This might be the most boring thing you look at. I just realized that my digital image is backwards when I look at it this way. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, this isn't really the one you wanted to join today. So I was just, yeah, it flickers too much, doesn't it? I was just testing a setup with a TV. It's the right way. Can you read it, or am I the only one who can't read it? It's flickering. Do a screen grab, background. Yeah, that's what I wanted to check. I wanted to see if I could get this without flicker, but apparently I cannot. Change refresh rate on your TV. Would that do it? I'm also interlaced now. Should I not be interlaced? Let's see. Display. That's worse. That's terrible too. Let's see how much of this is the lights. And that's even worse. All right, I won't subject you to more of that. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad I could change your world. Use a projector on a white wall. Huh. I can't change the frame rate on what I'm using right now because it's just the iPod or iPad, I mean. You can't stop the flickering, so there's no way to stop the flickering, is there? I think you need a pretty high-end camera to do that. Election recount? Well, anything is possible. You know, I have no opinion of how practical that is. Let's see. Let me turn off this TV. I'm back. You'd have to get a special filter or screen. Yeah, there must be a way. Fake news is fake news. I guess so. Get a 4K monitor. Oh, is that the trick? A 4K monitor? Would that really make a difference? I was just using a fairly new iPad here. Uses a Telecaster. What the heck is a Telecaster? Oh yeah, I saw that story about the Reddit CEO censoring the Donald Reddit group. But he came clean. The refresh on 4K is sometimes less. Wouldn't you be worried if I were your speechwriter? Imagine if I were a speechwriter for the president. They lied to you. So 60 hertz. So what needs to be 60 hertz? The camera and the screen? They need to match on the TV. Do you think that's a setting? Do you think my TV has a 60 hertz setting? You know, I have a green screen in the other room, but I was trying to skip that step. What I was trying to do is see if there was a way that I could draw and display it behind me, or show you my startup and some of the things we're doing there and display it behind me at the same time. What were the books on the screen? I was starting a little bookshelf of books that are on my persuasion reading list. That's actually what was on the screen, was the persuasion reading list. I wanted to show that to you in a new form that I think you'll find exciting when I ever get that to work. The monitor won't work. So there's no way for the monitor to work. There's got to be a way for that to work. It just seems to me there's got to be a way to solve for that. This would work, upgrade as you go. It wouldn't really work. Projector plus Apple TV. You know, I don't want to use a projector because they're noisy. Stop interlacing. What are the chances of Trump taking marijuana off the Schedule 1? It just doesn't seem to be a priority, does it? I think there's some chance, but I just don't think it's on his top 100 things to do. Oh, you were one of the developers, huh? Hello? Will Trump supporters turn on him? It doesn't look like it. I mean, really, if he performs, you know, I'll tell you what, if he keeps us out of wars and the economy does well and, you know, people don't lose their health care, I think his supporters are going to be happy. A silent projector. But a silent projector would not be very good, would it? And if I'm using a projector, I've got a lighting problem because I can't light me and the background light. Trump's Thanksgiving talk. I read about it. I didn't listen to it. So I understand that he was talking about, oh, I wonder if let's see if I've covered up. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was covering up my phone accidentally. How's that? So how's the sound now? How about if I do this? Whoa. Oh, thanks for reading my book. I'm glad you like it. So I was thinking about going forward, talking more about the stuff in my book, specifically systems versus goals. I had teased in my blog that I was going to talk about how my startup was a systems-based startup as opposed to a typical business model. Would you like to hear about that now? It's Thanksgiving. What else you got to hear about? Camera shutter speed, 130. That would work. All right, so here's the thing. If you have a startup you know, no matter what your business idea is, and no matter what you have going for you, maybe there's a 1 in 20 chance it's going to work out. You know, and that's in a perfect world. But if you were an incubator and you had lots of startups, suddenly your odds of making money are pretty good because you only need one of your, let's say 50 startups to become big, and you make money. Are you having trouble hearing me? How's the volume? Blofeld. Volume's good? Okay. Some of you can't hear, some of you can hear well. It's a bit low. Okay. So, as I was saying, a regular startup might have a 1 in 20 chance of success, but a incubator, which is a collection of startups, might have a closer to 80, 90% chance of success, just because they have enough startups that they only need 1 or 2 to work. So what I was trying to figure out is how to have one startup instead of an incubator, but still have the risk profile of an incubator instead of a startup. And I don't think there's anything I can do about the volume on my side, because this is just all I can get out of this microphone. So my startup is, you can think of it as a platform, and I'll be talking more about this, for telling stories with time. And by that, I mean it could be a story about things that happened over time in the past, a timeline per se, or it could be a schedule of upcoming events. But it could also be what we call a relative schedule, something like a recipe that you need to do at a certain time and in certain intervals, or let's say a training schedule that you might start on any given day, but it has a set interval over time that you need to train. So we created, it's called whenhub.com. You can go look at it now, but it's in beta, so if you see some bugs, let us know. Of course, we have API integration. We're going to be documenting that a little bit better, but it's a very robust API. And the idea is that you can create these stories over time that you can share in the same way that you would share a YouTube video. And we even have a gallery like YouTube where you can go and look at what other people have made. You can copy them, you can augment them, and then you can reshare them. It's whenhub.com. 2 words, when, W-H-E-N, and there's no space, and then hub, yes, whenhub.com. So you can go over there now, and it's free. You can sign up. It's in beta, and you can create visualizations and test them out. Does time exist? So let me just finish what I was saying about that. So the WhenHub platform allows so many possible applications that it has the risk profile of an incubator. Not exactly, but you can see where I'm going with this. So if I were to try to guess what somebody's going to use it for, I'd probably do poorly. But it's the same thing if I were to try to guess what somebody would use the first spreadsheet. Imagine the day the spreadsheet was invented and somebody said, well, what are people going to use it for? And the general answer is you put numbers in it and you calculate stuff. But the specific answer of, no, is it going to be an accountant who uses it? Well, yeah. But could it be, a family using it? Well, yeah. Who's going to use it more? Nobody really knows, because it's one of these things where just tons of people would use it for tons of different things. The same with the first word processing softwares, Microsoft Word and that sort of thing. If you said, what's the application for that? It would be a ridiculous question, because it's anybody who writes anything down and wants somebody to read it. Okay, so um, like those examples, WinHub has a near infinite number of applications, and the ones that get used, we don't really know. So we'll be finding out at the same time the public is. So that's kind of fun. Let me give you some examples of things you could do. If you were a teacher, you could create a lesson plan for the year, and you could, have each lesson in its own little card, as we call it, or any different visualization. And you could just reuse it every year, tweaking it as you need to. And when you need to put it on people's calendar, you just change the start date, and then all of the intervals stay the same. And you could share it. You could share it with other teachers. You could share it with the parents, the students, and they could see visually the entire lesson plan. There would be links. There would be there would be links and videos, and maybe links to tutorials and embedded videos and pictures and files and forms you could connect to it. So for any event that is something happening over time, you can connect anything from files to video to photos to text, etc. Prefer landscape? School district demand fresh lesson plans. Well, that's the thing. If each district had different lessons, they could all share, and then everybody'd have a fresh one. So, but the point is, it's a real cool platform for making anything that happens over time that you want to distribute. One of the things that I did was my life story over time. Where's my camera on this? Over here? Over here? Over here. So I put all my photos, and I'm going to make a life story that I can distribute. I can turn it into a slideshow. I can show it a great many ways. Can you add by email? So it's a link that can be shared. We share these, what we call webcasts, which is a story across time of anything, any events. We share them the same way that Google does sharing for Google Docs. So if you send somebody a link and you give them permission, they can edit or view these webcasts. Happy Thanksgiving to you from Pleasanton, California. Then there's also the WinHub app, which is separate from all the stuff I was just talking about, and you can download that now from iTunes or Android Store. And the WinHub app allows you to see on I'll show it to you on my phone. Usually I am doing these periscopes from my phone, but right now, all right, so WinHub allows any group of people to see themselves on a map, the same way that Uber allows you to see the car coming on a map, but you can do it for 2 or more people, your friends, and it's a temporary way to geostream your location. So if you're all meeting up, let's say the family's all meeting at the movie theater, or you're meeting just wherever you're meeting. So let me show you an example. Choose participants. This will be just fascinating here in a minute. You'll love it. Trust me. Stay tuned. All right, so I'm setting what we call an approach. It's native on the phone to be able to track, but we've got some advantages. One is that we work across platforms, and we have some interface advantages. And the best one is that so here's an example. Let's see, you're going to be able to see this? Probably not. Darn. It's just invisible, isn't it? Oh, well, anyway. What you would have seen on the screen there is a map with little faces of people moving toward each other. There are other options for doing this sort of thing, but we're going to be the best option, I think you'll find. Can it be always on to track your kids? No, if you want something that's always on, you want to use Apple's, if you all have Apple phones, you want to use Apple's built-in friend finder. That one is a real low energy user, but it doesn't update the map, but it stays on as long as you want it to. Ours is built to intentionally not have the option of keeping it on, because for privacy reasons we wanted to know that after an hour or half an hour or whatever you set it for, that it always times out, so that nobody is accidentally no one is being accidentally geo-streaming their location with our app. Sturgis, that would be perfect. You asked if time exists. Well, according to Einstein, there's not time, there's space-time. But I think it's far more likely that we're software than that we're, living in the real world, the way we imagine the real world. So I think time is probably some kind of a interpretation in our head, meaning that it's possible that everything is here at the same time. It's possible that the past doesn't exist until you imagine it. So there are probably a million different possibilities for what time is or how we experience it. But the only thing I could say with some confidence is that the way you imagine time is probably not accurate in any realistic way. Best book on time. I don't know. I liked reading any of the simpler books on Einstein. I loved reading about that guy. Do I miss talking about Trump? I'll be talking about him still. Will WenHub change perception of time? In a weird way, yes. So I'll give you a nerdy answer to your question. So WenHub, my startup at wenhub.com, it could change your perception of time, because one of the things you can do with it is create history lessons that would live on the internet forever. So if you created a more compelling history lesson that was, say, better than what the schools have themselves, and it was so good that people said, this is so good, we'll just teach a class based on this little history lesson that some good citizen made and put on wenhub.com. If that lesson was so good that people wanted to use it, and it changed their memory of history or what they thought was a sequence of events, it could actually alter their sense of time. So in some perceptual way, WenHub actually would alter your perception of time. Does WenHub need an always-on internet connection? There are two parts of WenHub. One is the studio, where you create these Wencasts, as we call it, which are these interactive visualizations that anybody can make. And that's just like any cloud-based application, right? You can sign on, you can sign off. It doesn't matter if your computer's on or off in between. The app does run in the background, so you don't have to have the app in foreground of your phone. You can just refer back to it when you want to see where your friends are. But because it runs, while it's running, it's obviously using battery time. Usually people are going to use it for, say, the last half hour of a trip or the last 10 minutes of a trip, where the battery usage would be trivial. Yeah, my tweets are Trump related. A lot of that has to do with the fact that of my 111,000 followers now, most of them are Trump fans, so we all have something in common. What is the networking effect? The networking effect, and it's an interesting question, is when, I'm just wondering who asked that question, because there might be somebody who knows me. So the networking effect is what Facebook has, for example, where once you're a member and all of your friends are members and you've invested in signing up and putting all your content on there, because there's a network of people on there, it would be hard for you to leave that and go to some Facebook competitor because there's nobody on the Facebook competitor. So the networking effect or the network effect is, if you get into some application and there's a network effect. If you get into an application and there's a group of people who are also using it, which makes it a stronger experience. So yeah, WenHub is also designed to create a network effect. So if you're sharing things with other people, they get a better experience if they also have WenHub. But in the case of the app, for example, the other person doesn't need to have the app. They get less of an experience, but it would take them to a map, browser page, and they could see where somebody is, but it wouldn't be a smooth updating situation, a smooth updating two-way situation. So the best experience is when both of you have the app. Your cartoon has too much hair. Yeah, it does. Dublin as a whole. Dublin's actually really come a long way. I don't think I was ever over 120,000 Twitter followers. 111 is the highest I've been. What compels someone to share their location or a Wencast? They would share their location if they were meeting at a common place. That's what our app does. But the WenHub Studio that creates what we call Wencasts, these visual displays of events over time, you would share those for a variety of reasons. Let's say you're a teacher and you want to share a lesson plan. Let's say you're a series of concerts and you want to share the upcoming schedule of concerts, but you want to make it really visual so people like it. But they can also add it to their calendar, just the text part anyway. Well, Lyft probably already has their app like that, I would think. And if you wanted to show a biography of your life, like I'm putting together for myself, I might want to share that with family members or people who care about Dilbert or whatever. Farmount WenHub. Yeah, we'll make the engine for WenHub available for small businesses who want to use it and put their name on it. How will you monetize? Well, the app is primarily driving traffic to WenHub in the long run. In the short run, we might license it to companies as an engine for them to use for their own small fleets. And the market for that is gigantic. And then the studio will probably monetize a variety of ways. And it's usually with premium type content, premium features, that sort of thing. Is location data archived? Not by us, no. I don't know what the operating system is doing. I can't speak for Apple or Android, but we don't keep location information. We don't have any need for that. Have you visualized where this app will be in the future? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Dan Carlin. I met Dan Carlin. Actually asked him about the, you're talking about Dan Carlin, the creator of the initial spreadsheet, right? Dan is the shit. Trump supporter is always getting pissed over him softening. They'll get a little bit pissed. Would they have access to all? All what? If you mean location, the answer is no. Flash, smash, and grab. California voter registration database, non-federal compliance. I better not answer any technical questions on WinHub. Need when using option for WinHub. You mean in terms of data? How can users make money with it? With what? With OneHub? Oh, so one of the things I was going to show you on the screen behind you, for those of you who were tuned in the beginning when I was doing a little test here, I was showing you one way to monetize a Wencast for the people who are using it, not for me. Yeah, you could charge people for access to your Wencast because you would have the ability to give them permission to see it or not. So one of the things that I put together using WinHub was a list of the persuasion books that people always ask me to recommend. And of course, a handy thing to put on that would be a link to Amazon, so you can actually go buy the book if you saw one that you were interested in. And it just makes sense to add an associate code to the Amazon link, so that if somebody goes to Amazon because they saw that link and clicked on it, and then they continue to buy, Amazon tracks that, the code that's attached to it, and they can compensate. So it's very small, it's pennies. But if you send a lot of traffic to Amazon, you could make a profit. So as long as you're sending traffic there anyway, you might as well sign up for an associate account, which is free, and they just start adding money to your account. So here's another thing you could do with WinHub, and this is just one of a billion things you can do. WinHub is out. You mean the site is down? I hope it's not down. So one of the things you could do, and I was just hypothesizing about this, is if you wanted to take a selfie of, picture of you wearing a certain outfit. Let's say you're a woman who likes clothing and knows a lot about fashion. So you buy stuff for yourself, you take a picture in a full-length mirror, and then you just create links on a Wencast, which is something you make with WinHub that you can share. And you share it, and then people see that outfit and they say, hey, I have that same size and coloring and age and whatever as you, and I'd look good in that outfit too. So they click on the link, and let's say you've added a Amazon associate code to it, and then it would just go off to Amazon, and if somebody buys that outfit, you get money for it. So it's a platform that anybody can buy, easily build a mechanism to direct traffic from any blog or website that they own to Amazon. So, and then the other thing that we do is we allow you to stream what we call stream Wencast together. So let's say if you made a Wencast of the different outfits that you liked with links to Amazon, so you get paid if somebody went over and bought them, and someone else did it, and 3 of your friends did it, then they can all stream them together and create one broadcast, if you will, that shows all the different people in different outfits, and you could click on any one of them. So you can create your own channels, if you will, that are combinations of other people's content if they give you permission. I will laugh at your comments so you get validated. Yeah, I saw the guy on Tucker Carlson who said he would not work with anybody who supported Trump either by omission or commission, I guess. And I got to tell you, he did a better job defending himself than I imagined was going to be possible. Um, Tucker was pretty brutal with him, but he held his ground pretty well. I got to say. Oh, how would WenHub work for a recipe? So one of the visualizations, I think this one is still in the works. There are lots of different ways you can visualize the data. Is you can set it for real time. Actually, I think this one does work. So if you had a recipe that you had turned into a WenCast, you'd have one, let's say, a card that you're looking at that says, cut up your potatoes. And then 5 minutes later, you need to boil them or something because everything's on a timer. Then you could have it running on your iPad in your kitchen, and you could see that as that card goes by, that's about the time you should be doing that activity. And then if you're going to combine a couple of recipes, let's say there was one set of steps for the side dish and one set of steps for the main course, you could have two separate WenCasts that you would say taken off of our hub, mix them together, and it would tell you when to do each step. In theory, nobody's done this yet, but it's just one of the things we could do. Yeah, so that guy on Tucker Carlson who would not work with Trump supporters, first of all, I'm not worried about it because there aren't that many people who are going to think like him. But if you think about it, what's happening there, it's not really a story about a person discriminating. It's really not. It's a story about someone who's been hypnotized into thinking that Trump isn't just a normal politician, but he's literally a fascist dictator. So maybe, in the same way that anybody, I suppose, could fool you and become a fascist dictator. But personally, I think the odds of that happening are so low that it is laughable. But the guy who's discriminating against Trump supporters, he's not discriminating because he's just a crazy Democrat who doesn't like Republicans. He actually thinks he's fighting against Hitler in his own way. So if you thought that Hitler was actually coming to power or had come to power, you would do what you could to do something about that, right? So the problem, if you're looking at it as a discrimination problem, you've completely missed the point. This is not a guy who's a big discriminator against, Trump people. That's what he's doing, but that's not exactly the situation here. He's actually literally hypnotized by the Clinton camp to think that there's a real danger that's like a real Hitler danger, and he's acting on that delusion. So, once you start seeing things in terms of persuasion, you don't see him as a discriminator. You see him actually as a patriot who is deeply hypnotized. I think in the long run, Trump can talk a lot of people out of their delusions, but it's going to take a lot of action and a lot of time. Well, the biggest check and balance that the U.S. government has is that darn Pledge of Allegiance and the fact that we're all, educated from youth to be patriots of some sort. So if somebody even tried to become a dictator in the usual way that people do this, you would have resistance at every level of everything because the citizens of the United States are so well indoctrinated with the whole democracy republic thing that I just don't think a dictator could get away with it. The National Guard wouldn't act, the armed services wouldn't act, the police wouldn't act because they're all, they've all been indoctrinated the same way. Fake news. Do I think Mitt will get an appointment? It seems like he would have said yes by now, if that was going to happen. So my feeling is that Romney would not want to work for Trump. So it sounds like maybe a polite conversation, but I can't see Romney taking the number 2 spot after he lost at getting the number 1 spot. I'm not sure it's a number 2 spot, but you know what I mean. A second tier below the presidency itself. I can't see him doing it. I don't think Romney wants it. Paul Ryan for Secretary of State. Doesn't it feel to you that Trump is just calling people in just to yell at them from the perspective of the presidency, just to set things right? You know, one of the funniest things I keep reading about him is that as much of a bastard as he can be, under certain circumstances, that he immediately forgives. He has this, like immediate forgiveness thing. As long as you get on board, he's like, all right, now I love you. Yeah, I love you forever now. As long as you're not opposing him. Can only dumb people be hypnotized? No, it works exactly as well for smart people. Tulsi Gabbard, I don't know enough about her to have a comment. Payback time. So Kanye. A lot of people tweeted to mock me when Kanye went into the hospital, I guess. And there were, reports that he was handcuffed and, I don't know, exhausted or mental breakdown or something. But first of all, you can't really believe any of the reports. So you should just take as a given that the reports are not likely to be completely true, even if there's any truth to them. But depending on what it is, it might be a big deal or a little deal. But it also might be that by 2020, we're at a place where so many voters are on some kind of brain medication that if he is too, it just won't look like a big deal. So let's say, for example, he's on, Prozac or something, some anti-anxiety thing. He was breaking his programming. He did it for insurance. Yeah, that made me laugh too, because if he did do it for insurance and somehow it worked, that sounds a little bit like something Donald Trump might do. Something that's legal, and if it's legal, Tom Hanks or Oprah for president. The funny thing is, Tom Hanks could get elected because he's so humble, but he's humble for a reason, which is I think he realizes he's not presidentially trained. He's a smart guy, and I think he's compassionate and he's probably sensible, but he may have the actor-only experience that isn't quite wide enough. It's not quite Trump business experience. Yeah, so look at all the things that Trump has softened on. So just go down the list. Let's see, there was a time he said women should be punished for getting illegal abortions, and he changed that in one day. There was a time he said deport everybody here who's undocumented, but now that's just the people who have committed new crimes after immigration. There was getting rid of Obamacare, but now he's keeping some of it. There was prosecuting Hillary, but now not going to prosecute Hillary. He was talking about building the wall, but we always knew that included, fences and drones and a variety of different measures. But now he's free to say that because he doesn't need to complicate. When he was running for office, he wanted to keep it simple. It's a wall. But now he's president, he can say, yeah, it's part wall, part fence. We'll do what we need to do. Yeah, I would not count Kanye out. Immigration and trade. Well, I guess it's easy to cancel TPP, right? Where to learn hypnosis, I do not know. It's because you want to learn it in person, but so you'll just need to find a local school. Just Google it. Try to talk to somebody who went to that school and find out how much they liked it. Make sure you get references. There are schools, yeah. There are schools for hypnosis. Can hypnosis brainwash? Well, brainwashing is just the extreme form of persuasion. So all these words are a little bit interchangeable. I didn't sleep as much as I wanted to last night. Is Trump brainwashing us? Trump is persuading you. Yeah, I think I'm going to take off now because I don't have much to say, and it's Thanksgiving. So when hope can persuade, it's actually what it would do very well. Connie knows about Pizzagate. All right, happy Thanksgiving.